Hey, it's Alicia here with another Indie 1023 session at home. I'm joined now by Noga Erez. We've had her in heavy rotation off and on over this last year with her infectious singles. You've heard Views, you've heard You So Done, you've heard Story and End of the Road. Songs that you can find on her new album, her sophomore release. It's called Kids. It's out on City Slang Records now. And joining us from her home in Tel Aviv, Israel, it is Noga Erez. Hello.
From her bedroom, that would be more accurate.
Your bedroom, where, even more accurate, you have a Velvet Underground.
There's a Velvet Underground poster that I'm dying to replace because, come on, I could do better. It's like the Andy Warhol, it's just so cliche.
Right, but it is iconic, and it gives me a sense of great music that you love.
Well, yeah. And I'm sitting on my bed in my apartment in Tel Aviv. So yeah, that's basically the vibe. And I'm wondering, I have a question for you. I'm going to ask the first question, Alicia.
Yes.
So in the English language, the tendency when you have two syllables in a word is to have the weight, where you put the heavy on the second syllable, like tonight, not tonight, tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why whenever I talk to Americans, they call me Noga Erez and not Noga Erez. And my question for you is, should I even bother, or should I just, just make it my new name, Noga Erez?
It's really, that's an interesting question, because we've seen that throughout the years, like people's names getting botched, like how Bjork is like kind of like Björk if you've heard her say it, like in
Björk.
Icelandic, like that's like the Icelandic pronunciation of it. Or like with me as Alicia, like my name gets botched a lot too. So I always try to make sure that I am saying names correctly. So we need to not harden up the Z part of your last name. Erez.
The R,
Yeah.
You harden the Erez instead of the Erez, which is like, it's very, my boyfriend, who's my partner in music and everything, his name is Ori, and the same thing happens with his name. Whenever they say his name, it's Ori, they flip it. I don't know why, but anyways, his approach is whatever. Let people do whatever they feel like. And even if you research as a journalist, you hear other people say it wrong. So it's like, it's,
Well, I was listening to an interview when I was prepping, and I heard you say your name. So in my head, I'm pronouncing it correct. Like I wrote it out like phonetically, like I've like wrote out like AIR-ES, like for me, like that's how I was like, that's how it should be said in my head. That's what.
Well, you did your research, and anyways, I'm thinking it doesn't matter.
We're all doing our best, right? We'll blame it on lockdown.
It's a weird name. No, it's a weird name.
It's a beautiful name. What I love about your name is as soon as I started playing you on the radio and getting familiarity with you, it was like, yeah, that's just who you are. This is you. Like you're a sound, you're a vibe and everything. Like you're a household name for me, which I love.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we're like almost 7,000 miles apart in this world. What does life look like for you right now in lockdown? Are things slowly opening up? Are you vaccinated? What's happening?
There's no lockdown in Israel. Israel is fully opened, fully vaccinated, almost fully vaccinated, because you have 8 million people here, and they're approaching the 6 million vaccinated. Wow. But it's insane. It's been like that for about a month that shows have reopened. They're gradually kind of opening things up. I had my first show in front of a real audience yesterday. So that is why I feel like I'm so weird today. Like everything is weird. I mean, they have opened it like a month ago, and I waited because I knew that I needed to, I don't know, kind of process the information. and I did it yesterday. It was weird as hell, but it's normal. It's back to normal here. It's
Were
crazy.
were people standing 6 feet apart? Were folks masked? Were you like going up and getting into people's face when you're performing? Like, what was the vibe?
Well, people are not, no, standing 6 feet apart or 2 meters, as you say here.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are supposed to be wearing masks, but since they said that in 3 days from now you don't have to wear masks in open spaces anymore, then people are just not wearing masks anymore. And people in Israel are just extremely affectionate and warm. So it just, the moment that somebody told them you can do this, all hell broke loose and people are kissing and hugging. And yeah, I was kissing a bunch of people yesterday
Mm.
on the mouth. No, I'm kidding. But yeah,
I
a
do
bunch of,
miss that though. I miss hugging friends. I will say that. I cannot wait for that to return to my life.
yeah, I can cry, just thinking how bad it is to prevent people, for us to need to prevent ourselves from doing that. It's just awful. It's just such a basic need that was prevented from us for a while.
Yeah. So you played your first show yesterday. You've got more performances coming up in May, and I want to talk with you about like what tour might look like. I want to get into like making music with you, your fantastic performances that you've done during lockdown, and I want to hear about your influences. But first, I just want to say like congratulations on this new album.
Thank you.
Yeah. We live in this time digitally where people can just pop on Spotify or however they listen to music and they can listen to the record as singles. But for me, I've been putting it on for the full album experience, like from the beginning where there's a little clip of your mom saying something to the final song on the record, which actually kind of reminds me like of a song that you would hear in like a Bond film, like a James Bond film. So I just love
Yeah,
the album from beginning to end. I think this record, Kids, is incredible.
thank you
And
so much.
yeah, fill us in on the details of this. Some of the songs seem like they were written during the pandemic. Is that accurate?
Well, the thing about this album is it's just incredible because people are talking about the album all the time. Like the media is all about the album, about how it feels as a whole. And it's just such a crazy achievement for me and for my partner Ori, because yeah, albums are just not, you can't take that for granted today, that people are talking about the full thing. And what allowed us to have an album that you can really listen to from start to finish and go through a journey, and you kind of feel like it doesn't really let go of you, so you have to listen through the entire thing. That is what we hear a lot. Like I wanted to listen to the first song, and then I just got swept away by the other ones. And well, the gift that we got from the pandemic is the fact that we had more time to work on the album. The album was 90% ready when it comes to the songwriting and the production. And then pandemic started and we made a decision, instead of quickly finishing it and starting to work on new materials, we decided to give whatever time that we would have, because we didn't know it's going to be almost a year, but to perfect the album. And what happened was that the album just improved in, I just feel like it's 150% better. And I'm so thankful for that, because the singles were always great in the album. We always had like really really nice songs that we were so proud of. They were like proper songs. But the ones that were not like single materials felt like they were fillers, and then now they just don't. They feel like songs that they're there because they're supposed to be there.
Yeah. What song do you think you spent the most time on producing?
End of the road.
Oh my God.
And
Such a
they,
banger.
we spent so much time on all of them. It was crazy. But with end of the road, I don't know if it was more time spent, but it definitely had the most versions. It had so many different verses, so many different beats, and versions of the structure. Sometimes it began with the chorus, and then it began with it took us a lot of time to crack it. And so yeah, that was probably the hardest one.
I would love to hear other versions of that song. Like, I'd love to hear an early version of it compared to like how it exists now. It
I
is.
can tell you, it's actually, we have them, we've collected them, and it's crazy.
Oh
It's
my God.
crazy.
I'm gonna reach out to your management about that
Yeah,
because you want to hear it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that song is gonna be in a movie if it isn't already being optioned for one yet. I'm just saying it now. Like, I could see it in a big Hollywood movie in a pivotal scene.
I hope so,
Like,
because I love movies. It happened to us a lot with advertisements that, our music got synced to those things, but it's my dream that that someone would take the music to a movie, because for me it's like, wow, both worlds are, yeah.
I mean, couldn't you just see like in a some sort of like badass scene, like somebody walking away, like, I don't know what really happens at the end of the world, like I could just totally, I could just see it. It's happening.
All
It,
right, you
it
manifest that, please.
I'm so manifesting that for you.
Yeah.
I know it will happen. It's gonna be like how MIA's Paper Planes was used in the Pineapple Express trailer, like how 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. Um, there's going to be like some moment that's just going to turn everybody onto that song. I just have a feeling.
Well, amen to that. I really hope so.
You've heard it here first. If
We
you
should.
could score or have your music featured in a film, what director would you want?
um I'd say, I mean, I know it's cliche, but I would have to say Tarantino, because I think I love his movies for the music in the movies. So that's just the first thing that comes to mind. He has such a beautiful taste in music. So if he chooses one of my songs, then it means that I'm doing something well.
I got Tarantino vibes from you in your music video where you're in the library. Is that Story?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when it's you and your partner, and you're like kind of like have this choreographed like fight scene, like this dance slash fight, like that gave me Tarantino vibes, interestingly.
Yeah. Well, I love the director, and Kill Bill. I mean, we've been preparing for this video for a while, just by watching, some fight scenes.
Mm.
And obviously we knew that ours are not going to be violent. The whole idea was to have something that feels like a choreography and that is not really violent. We hold guns, but the guns are made out of our fingers, and it's like a love-hate story. It's how relationships could be like. Sometimes it's on the border of hate, how much you love someone. And um so yeah, so we've watched a bunch of fight scenes from many movies, and obviously Tarantino has a bunch.
Yeah.
So it bled into, yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about your working relationship with Rousseau. Like, he is your partner in life, but also in music. He's your co-writer, he's your co-producer. How does he support you to make the music, to tell the stories that you want?
um well, the weird thing about this project is that it's not my project. I mean, I'm the name in the face.
Yeah.
But this project is by both of us, and it was a decision that we made early in the game. We had no idea what was going to happen, and then we got signed to City Slang, and we had a conversation with the label owner and Christoph, and him and Ori were convinced that one persona, presenting something emotional, sentimental, is way stronger than two people. And I still agree, but I told them that back then, that this is going to bring me trouble in interviews, because it's going to be hard for me to explain each and every time how much this is just it happens to be me speaking, but
Yeah.
these are two minds that are just coming together into this music. And Ori is, he's a genius, basically. He's a genius producer. And um, you know, I've learned so much from him, and he's like far beyond any producer that I've met ever in my life. And I've been searching and I've been kind of trying things, and I never felt, I think a music producer, besides him being, a songwriter and everything, a music producer has such an important job in getting into people's psychic and getting into people's emotional process and kind of helping, the artist be the best artist that they can be. And that is what Ori does so masterfully. Like he knows how to bring you to a zone, and I feel like we're both doing it to one another. And I'm just, yeah, just incredibly lucky to have this rare thing in my life.
Yeah. When you guys approach making music, is it pretty like you look at it as a 9 to 5 job where you're like, all right, we're going to work on music today? Or is it pretty organic? Like you'll wake up and you're just feeling inspired and you want to write a song, and then he wants to work on some beats separately at a different time? Or what's that collaboration look like?
Well, usually we treat our work as a job, and we've learned that in order for us to be in time for any inspired moment, we have to be very in shape. But at the same time, it's not like we're the kind of creatives that write a song every day or work on songs every day, but we do have a studio time. And it's you know you have to go to the studio, and we just spend time there. Sometimes the entire session goes on, listening to music, watching movies, and sometimes it's just worse. It's just, doing a bunch of other things that you're not supposed. But as long as we're there and it's the right moment for us creatively, then we're in the right sphere. And so what we've learned with this album, and what I've learned, is that the studio is not necessarily my creative you know scenery. I have found that when I'm moving, when I'm active, when I'm doing things and I'm not intending to be making something, a lot of the stress that comes with it just goes away, and I tend to be more inspired. Because for me to sit down alone in the studio in front of like a a blank page or an empty project on Ableton is a very intimidating um, eh, moment. So I try to do things differently. And right now our method is that we have so many different methods, but we just continue to be creative, because our life is just all around that.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me about some of the creative influences for kids. The songs are such sweet blends of pop and hip hop. And, I hear so many other influences in it. What were some of the vibes musically, visually, or whatnot that were inspiring you as you worked on this?
We've been listening, to the stuff that we keep coming back to, which is Kendrick Lamar, Radiohead.
Mm,
And I'm a big PJ Harvey fan,
yep.
and Nancy Sinatra, which you could probably hear in Switch Me Off, but
Mhm.
also jazz, like Ella Fitzgerald. And there's a lot of Flying Lotus influences, and Vince Staples, Princess Nokia, like a bunch of hip hop, and a lot of pop from the 90s started to kind of blend into our music recently, like obviously Gorillaz and Blur, that you can really hear in the music, but also Cardigans. And it's a blend of many things, and I think that you could really hear that in the music, that it doesn't even try to run away from how diverse it is.
Yeah, and I love that that you can hear the influences, that you do wear them on your sleeve while you're still creating and telling a story that is original but also relatable. Like it is just beautiful. Um, yeah, and visually, I love the cover of the album. It's like you in this oversized suit. So it's like, you know, kids, and then it's you in this oversized suit, which gives me like the Talking Heads vibes, like David Byrne, Stop Making Sense era. Was there any correlation there?
No, no, and I keep getting that. Well, obviously, I knew that, so maybe it was there. But the inspiration for this album cover is my dad. I mean, it's not my dad. It's an image of myself wearing my dad's clothes when I was 6. It's basically that because I have friends who used to sneak into their mom's closets and wear their dresses and their high heel shoes, and I was always into my dad's suits. Um, and whenever he would go to work after he would do this big ritual of getting dressed and wearing the tie and wearing the shoes and shoelaces, and everything was so aesthetic, was smelling from aftershave or whatever stuff that I cannot smell today. But there was something very no, I don't know, royal about it. And then he would go and I would go to his closet and try on jackets, and they would all look like so big and make me look even smaller. And then when I was looking for an idea for the album cover, I was like, that's what I want it to be. So I realized I cannot make myself smaller. I just have to take a really big jacket.
Oh, I love it. Did you get that made, or were you able to actually find that in that
No,
size?
I found it. It was insane. There was actually a fashion college graduate that just did exactly that year. So it was cool.
That's amazing. I read somewhere where you talked about this record as kind of a generational record, which I guess hints at the title Kids, that you look and honor the different generations of you and your partner's life. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yeah, I mean, the one perspective that is new to me and to my partner, um that was not there before, is well, we've experienced the death of someone close. It was Ori's mom who died to cancer, and it all happened right when we were starting to release Off the Radar, our first album, and it was kind of all that career goodness and all the personal life madness and chaos and extreme sadness and grief and all kind of blend into one thing. And that was a big, obviously, like, those experiences, they give you a big mind twist. And for me, I was already a part of this family because I was there for years before that, and we lived very close. So it was a lot, many times it was like a double date between us and Ori's parents. And his mom had a very, one of those people that had a very strong presence, those people who walk in a room and they're there. It's like you cannot ignore them.
Mhm.
And so funny and positive and like insanely loud, and her laughter and everything. And when she was gone, you could feel an incredible void, but at the same time, for me, as I was an insider and an outsider at the same time, I was able to see how much of her was left after she was gone. And that was just so much. I mean, it's yeah, it just got me and Ori thinking about how much you leave behind after you go. And so that was the new perspective that we now have on life, that life will end very soon, sooner than we all think, and that death is a part of life and should not be taboo and should be discussed and should be embraced in a way, and that we continue to exist after we go with what we leave in the world, especially with our kids, but
Yeah.
just generally. So So that's kids. I mean, it's not that every song is about that. Obviously, the album talks about many different things, but it's all coming from that new perspective that we have now.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Let's talk about some of your performances that you've done over this past year online. Each one is a little bit different, which I love, which I'm drawn to. You had those shows at the beginning of April that were like your celebratory album release shows. What part of do you do all of the art direction for it? Do you have a small team? Is it just you and Ori working on it? Like, that was an amazing feat that you pulled off, and you can explain it, you can set it up a little bit if you would like to, for those that didn't get a chance to see the live stream.
Yeah, I mean, our so we did a live stream, and a live stream is a big curse for artists, and that is, one of those things that this time brought to us. And I saw many artists trying to crack that, challenge, trying to, because it's impossible. It's just impossible to try to make, the live performance experience translate through the screen. It just does not happen. And so, but we knew that we had an international album, and that it was going pretty well around the world, and that we were not going to be able to tour it the way that we wanted to, but we still wanted to give people some kind of a different experience of the album. And the whole thought behind how we make this an experience was, what do we know that works on a screen? It was not about what works live. It was about what is it that we like about the art that goes through the screen. So obviously TV and movies and music videos were the main inspiration for this entire thing. And that was one thing. And then, we started working with the director and the light designer, and that was the hardcore crew. And then we involved the choreographer, and that became, this machine that started to hustle about this day and night. And first of all, we started to get the vibe that people are invested into this in a level that we would never get if not for the pandemic. Because for people, especially where Israel is right now, that was kind of their passage from a full lockdown of almost a year to kind of like coming back to work. Um and also, there was something so emotionally charged about those people. For me, those people, are us as artists who have other income streams that are not the live. We have royalties, we have syncs, etc., but my sound and light engineer people have not worked for a 1 year. It just made the crew and the people who are involved in the show seem so important all of a sudden, that we were like, this has to be a show that is all about showing the illusion that we're trying to create, lights and beauty, and it's all shot so cinematically, etc., but you have to be able to see who shot it. You have to be able to see that a person held the camera, and that it was operated by someone. And you have to be able to see, the dancers, not only when they're dancing, but when they're not dancing. Like, always the illusion, and how you break the illusion, and you see the work being made as it's made. And that was the idea. And it all came from us, just, bouncing ideas with a bunch of people who are, besides insanely creative, just sweet and invested. And it was a really, really, really exciting project. And without even realizing it, it became a really huge thing. It sold like crazy, but it also brought us a lot of opportunities. A lot of people reached out to us after that. So it
Amazing.
was, yeah.
I saw a lot, like in my Instagram stories, people filming their screens and being like, check this out and stuff that were watching your live stream. You were here in the States just on Jimmy Kimmel Live. You did a performance of your song Views, and I loved the recording. Obviously, you weren't in studio. I'm sure it was pre-recorded, obviously, but it just looked so fun. It was a full band. You had a full band. It was you and your partner singing. What were you going for the vibe for that one?
I mean, that session did not happen in the States, and for
Yeah, it seems like
for people in Israel, it was crazy. It was like she didn't even go to the States to do.
it doesn't matter. She's on the TV. No, sorry.
Yeah, no, it was really funny because that was the thing. We did this session a few months ago.
Uh-huh.
It's succulent sessions, and we already released. We did like 5 songs. We already released one of them, End of the Road. It went crazy. It went viral on TikTok. It was crazy. It was a blast. It was really fun.
Mm.
And it was so fun to discover that in order to be big on TikTok, you don't have to dance like you're 15. You
Uh-huh.
can, post your music, and sometimes that could just work. And but then the producer of Jimmy Kimmel saw that live stream show, and immediately was like, listen, we have a slot and that is what we want. Is she available to do it? And I was like, going to Paris the day after, and it was just insane. And we were like, well, we do have this session. And they looked at the session and they loved it, and they chose Views.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I love it because it's also, performed by me and Rousseau. And yeah, I think that the one thing that you can really say about that session from, that we did, is that you can really tell that it was fun to do it. The fun, if it's fun, you can really feel it through the screen.
Yeah, that is so true. And what I've liked about watching you with these couple of sessions, because I haven't ever seen you live, is that you just have this confident swagger. What do you draw on when you perform? How Beyonce has her Sasha Fierce. Do you channel something different, or what inspires you?
I have Dash of Snow, actually. I have Dash of I swear to God.
I
Um,
love it.
I've learned that from Beyonce and from others. You know, the alter ego thing is, for the huge artists, I think it's something to channel, because they do it so many times, and they have to find a strength to do it over and over again, and they have to kind of find a persona that would not be themselves, and kind of disconnect them from all the emotional side that goes into it. But for me, it always was a thing about um the anxiety that I had before shows, and that it was not natural to me at all at the beginning, and I would throw up before shows, and it was a disaster. Basically, the fact that I'm still performing is only goes to tell, about how much I love music. And because it was so easy to give that up, because it was hard. I had to really work through that. And I started reading about, how people cope with that. And that was one of the things. And at first it was just so it wasn't real. It felt fake. It was hard for me to actually do that. But at some point, the more I established the character, because I wanted it to be Dash of Snow, like be, based on the artist. There's a photographer called Dash Snow, and I wanted her to be like his female version of someone who really does not give a fuck about anything, who's not afraid of channeling sexual energy, who's not afraid of anything, actually. And the more I built the character, it just became, the stage, my stage self. And but right now, I don't have Dash of Snow with me anymore. She's
Mhm.
dead. I'm just Noga. She's just a part of me.
Just Noga. What does self-care look like for you right now?
um I don't do much of that recently. um but I'm just very, 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 very thankful. So I think that keeps me it keeps me in a good place. I had a very hectic few months. Besides everything that was happening with the music, I was shooting a TV series. I was doing a bunch of things, and with our little, universe, we do everything. We do every single thing here, and so it's a lot. And I stopped. Usually I'm going to therapy, and I'm running, and I'm exercising, and I'm doing some meditate. I do a lot for my self care, because that is what I learned, is like everything is on based on that. But because I had so much going on, I was just gradually stopping, and but I was left with, so much adrenaline, and also I'm just so thankful. I mean, I can't even explain. It just became something that I'm able to do, to see what I have for the smallest things. And I think there's a there's an energy that thankfulness brings that can sometimes compensate lack of, self-care.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I feel that deeply. I feel that deeply. Like the running, the meditation, all of those things, like I have tried to stay up on those over the last year. And then, yeah, you do get into that slump, whether it is like because you're gainfully employed and what a blessing and everything, but also sometimes you just get the blahs or the sads or, like um, that has been so important. You mentioned TV show. Are you allowed to say anything about this at this point?
Yeah, it's an Israeli TV
Uh-huh.
series. It's my first time trying to act, and I hope that it would go well. I mean, it's already done. I did everything, but the thing is that I have no idea if I did well. I have no idea. Like, I still don't have the tools to assess whether I was shitty, or whether I was great. I have no idea. So let's see. We'll find out with the rest of Israel. Maybe that will destroy my career here.
Is it a comedy? Is it suspense? Is it horror?
It's suspense. It's like it's about lawyers and police, and I play a character of this Russian. I speak Russian and I'm not Russian,
Uh-huh.
but I speak Russian there with my grandma. And well, I'm basically cooking drugs and selling them in these parties, and yeah, it's that kind of stuff. And the drug that I made is starting to get extremely successful, and it's starting to kill a bunch of people, and it's like that. It's interesting.
So it sounds like it's pretty true to life from what I know about you. Just
Yeah, yeah, it's just a biography.
well, how cool! Congratulations on that. I hope the best for you with that. Um, maybe a couple more questions before we pop off. If you could travel now, where would you go?
I would go probably to Brazil, Mexico, Colombia. I'm getting a huge vibe from Latin America, and um the first tour I ever did was in Brazil. It's very weird, but that was what happened. And when I was touring there, it was only like 6 days, but I felt like I was vibing with Brazilians like a lot. And every time I got, interviewed, because I did so many with Latin America, because things are going great over there, I felt like I was vibing with these people. I don't know why. I feel like there's something like a similar temperature or whatever. And I feel like people are waiting there for me. I have a shit ton of people sending me messages like all the time from Colombia and Mexico, like saying you have to come here. So I'm just like, I don't know, they sound like the sweetest crowd to perform to. I just want to perform music. I mean, it's so weird that a part of growing up And growing out of an album is to perform it. And if you don't perform it, you don't get to grow out of it. You don't get to leave it behind in a way. I'm still like so in a honeymoon phase with this record, and I'm enjoying it, but I would love to move forward as well.
All right. If you could go on tour opening up for an artist that's bigger than you, who would that be?
Tame Impala?
Oh my God. Wouldn't that be amazing? I could see that. We're going to just be manifesting so much in this interview. We're manifesting. That would be incredible. And then, okay, so on the flip side, you could bring a young artist with you, an act not as big as you, to open up for you. Who would you want people to hear and see?
Is there anybody not not as big as me?
Or
No,
I
I'm kidding.
mean,
no, I don't know.
I mean, Beatles and Tame Impala.
Well, there's one artist from Israel that I really love. She has the same success as I do in Israel, and I would tour with her. I don't know who would open for who, I don't care, but her name is Echo, and I did one song with her, Chin Chin, like a couple of years ago, and I love her music and her vibe, and she's crazy, and I think touring with her would be hilarious. Echo.
Echo. Like ECHO?
That's actually ECHO, and that's her actual real name. Her parents are hippies.
Well, this has been such a blast talking with you, speaking with you, manifesting with you. Thank you so much, Noga. This has been a super treat for us. We love you here in Denver at Indie 1023, and hopefully 2021, 2022, maybe you'll be on a plane coming to America to then play some shows, maybe in Denver.
I believe that that's going to happen. It looks like it. No, it's going somewhere.
Yeah, I think it will.
So let's manifest that as well.
We're totally manifesting it. The new album Kids is out now. Everybody should buy it, stream it, enjoy it. I love all the visuals for the record, by the way, like when I have it on Spotify and I'll look and like the little pow and the tongue and everything. It's so cool.
Thank you. It's fun. When you have an album named like Kids, you can do childish things, and that's fun.
Absolutely. It is playful, it is fun, it's an excellent record, and political, and covers death and social media and all the great themes. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was my pleasure.
All right, this has been another Indie 1023 session at home. All right, cool. Thanks so much, Noga. We'll like edit, chop everything up and make it gorgeous for the airwaves and the interwebs and stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was really fun.
Yes, it was very nice to meet you. Do I hear a dog, by the way?
That's from outside the street, not from inside.
Yeah. I was like, do you have a puppy?
I wish. I don't.
Me too. All right. Have an awesome night. And thanks again. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.